The Galactic Academy's Xenobiology wing had seen many species pass through its corridors, but never had it housed a human before. Olivia Chen stood at the entrance of Enclosure 7, her regulation jumpsuit already dusty from the morning's assignments. Behind the reinforced glass, something massive shifted in the shadows. "You certain about this, Cadet Chen?" Instructor Vexler's mandibles clicked nervously. The Crithian's exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial lights, but his usual composure had cracked. "The juvenile Zathari has already injured 2 of our most experienced handlers this cycle." Olivia pressed her palm against the scanner. The door hissed open. "I read the reports, sir. 17 lacerations, 3 broken appendages, and 1 severely bruised ego." "I've got this." Inside the enclosure, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. The Zathari territories were ice worlds, and the Academy spared no expense in replicating their natural habitats. Olivia's breath misted before her face as she stepped inside, the door sealing behind her with a definitive thunk. The cub emerged from behind a synthetic ice formation. Even at 6 months old, it stood nearly 8 feet tall, its obsidian scales drinking in what little light penetrated the enclosure. 6 eyes, ranged into rows of 3, fixed upon the human. Its maw opened slightly, revealing rows of crystalline teeth that could shear through starship hull plating. Through the observation window, a crowd had gathered. Students from a dozen worlds pressed against the glass, their various sensory organs focused on the tiny human facing down, one of the galaxy's apex predators. Even the usually unflappable Instructor Vexler had taken 3 steps back. The cub's throat sac inflated, a warning sign Olivia recognized from her xenology texts. In adult Zathari, this preceded a sonic blast capable of liquefying organs. In cubs, it was merely loud enough to rupture eardrums. The creature released its snarl sound like glaciers calving mixed with grinding metal. The observation window vibrated. Several students covered their auditory receptors. Instructor Vexler's mandibles locked shut in instinctive fear response. Olivia didn't flinch. Instead, she grinned. "Nice try," she said, her voice carrying across the enclosure with surprising steadiness. The Zathari cub's eyes narrowed, all 6 of them. This was wrong. Prey creatures fled. Predators retreated. Even the mechanical drones used for basic care kept their distance. But this small, soft thing stood there, showing its teeth. Olivia took a deliberate step forward. The cub hissed and raised its fretellons, each claw capable of disaboweling a grown Crithian. It lunged forward with surprising speed, stopping just short of the human, so close that its frozen breath washed over her face. Olivia didn't move. She'd done her homework. Zathari cubs tested boundaries through intimidation. They learned dominance early, and they respected only 2 things, strength and fearlessness. She had limited options for demonstrating the former, but the latter, that was pure human specialty. "You're scared," Olivia said softly, reaching slowly into her pocket. "New place, new species, and they pulled you from your clutch too early. I read your file. You didn't even get to see your mother before the traitors grabbed you." The cub's throat sac deflated slightly. One of its middle eyes tracked the movement of her hand. She pulled out a small container, thumbing it open. The scent of raw Calaxian river beast, the closest approximation to the cub's natural prey, filled the enclosure. The Zathari's nostrils flared, all aggression momentarily forgotten. "The others were afraid of you," Olivia continued, tossing a chunk of meat onto the ice floor between them. "But humans, we're the galaxy's most successful social predators. We've been reading body language and managing relationships since we lived in caves on a death world called Earth." The cub snatched up the meat, swallowing it whole, but its eyes never left Olivia. She took another step forward, then slowly sat down on the ice floor, legs crossed. From the observation deck, she heard Vexler's translator squawk in alarm. She ignored it. "You want to know why I'm not scared?" Olivia asked, pulling out another piece of meat. This time, she held it out on her palm. "Because back on Earth, we had creatures called wolves, apex predators, just like you. And you know what humans did." The cub approached cautiously, torn between hunger and suspicion. "We domesticated them, made them our best friends, took the most dangerous pack hunters on our planet and turned them into companions who'd die for us." She smiled. "We didn't do it through force. We did it through trust. The Zathari cub's tongue black and forked flickered out, tasting the air around her hand. Then, with surprising gentleness for a creature with such lethal appendages, it took the meat from her palm. Olivia stayed perfectly still as the cub settled onto the ice beside her, close enough that she could feel the unnatural cold radiating from its scales. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and placed her hand on its flank. The cub rumbled not a snarl this time, but something deeper, almost like a purr if purrs could shake the ground. Outside, the crowd erupted. Students chittered, clicked, and vocalized their amazement in a dozen languages. Instructor Vexler's mandibles hung open in what passed for shock among his species. Johnson Martinez, Olivia's roommate and fellow cadet, pressed his face against the glass. "How is she doing that?" he breathed. Vexler's translator crackled to life. I do not know. In 3 decades of xenobiology instruction, I have never witnessed." He trailed off, watching as Olivia scratched behind the ridge of the cub's primary skull plate, the creature leaning into her touch like an earth housecat. Olivia looked up at the observation window and winked. The Zathari cub, sensing her attention had shifted, nudged her hand with its snout, a clear demand for more attention. Yeah, she murmured, resuming her scratching. "You're just a big scary baby, aren't you?" The cub's rumbling intensified later as Olivia exited the enclosure. Instructor Vexler approached her with something approaching reverence. "Cadet Chen, that was unprecedented. How did you know it would work?" Olivia shrugged, brushing ice crystals from her jumpsuit. "Humans have been making friends with things that can kill us for thousands of years, sir. It's kind of our thing. Besides," she added with that same fearless grin, "everybody just needs someone who isn't afraid of them." Behind the glass, the Zathari cub watched her leave, and for the first time since its capture, it didn't snarl at the approaching feeding drones. It was waiting for the small, soft human to return.